Sorry about the delay, folks. Did we do approval of the agenda?
Yes.
Approval of adoption of the minutes, November 20th, 2017, regular council meeting. Councilor Kirby,
Recommendation that council adopt the minutes of the November 20th, 2017 regular council meeting is presented.
Casey,
Second, your worship.
all in favor? Any business arising from those minutes? Okay.
I'm just curious, 6.5 on page 9, if you found anyone about the roofing material.
We did. We are able to dispose of it. We're working with the gun club to do that. We've got to dig it out, or it's got to be dug out from the snow before we can find out the value.
Okay, 5, mentions and delegations, the old timers hockey team, Keith, Bertrand and Plains.
Just myself. Just myself this one. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councilors. My name is Keith Bertrand. I'm a little more prepared this year now that I know I need to write a speech, so I did write a speech this year. I'm here on behalf of the Tumbler Ridge Old Timers Club. We were supposed to have a small delegation here this evening, but unfortunately they weren't able to attend. I'm here before you this evening to discuss our lease agreement with the district. Just so you all know, our club has leased dressing room number 5 at the community center for a very long time. Longer than my 15 years here in town, and likely right back to the days of the Cold Timers 30 years ago. Before I get into our proposal, I'd just like to say thank you to Mayor and Council for giving us a reprieve on our lease last year. This reduction last year enormously helped our club solidify our bank account and ended the year with a modest profit to carry forward in the years to come. The reasoning for this request of reprieve last year was because of our population decline in the town and in our membership. It has been a very unfortunate set of events that led to this, and we very much appreciate the help the district offered us. As well, setting the dates for ice in and ice out has helped not only our club, but minor hockey tremendously. Being able to start our season at the beginning of September puts all of us on an advantage from the rest of the Peace region, as we were able to get into the swing of our skates earlier than other towns, as well as generating revenue for the district by paying for the ice time being used. This year, Chetwynd didn't have ice until the end of October due to renovations, and as such, their association was booking ice slots here in Tumbler just to try and keep up with the rest of the region. This is a benefit not only to our town associations, but also to the region. As well as in the spring, it was always a guessing game as to when the ice was coming out, so it was very difficult to try and plan our year-end tournament. For that commitment, we'd like to say thank you. Just a bit of background about our group now. We are a group that are dedicated and committed to this town 100%. I can't speak for our boards in the past, but since I've been involved now for 7 years, we have given back to the community in as many ways as we can. Our scholarship program is very important to us, our group, and will continue in the future. Our program works so that if one of our members' child or children are graduating, our club gives them a $500 scholarship presented at the graduation ceremony. It isn't a lot of money, and all we as a club can really afford, but it is very secretive and puts a smile on some of our graduates that weren't expecting it. We also give to minor hockey in the form of recycling money, and as well giving up our ice times on Friday nights for minor hockey games. We also work with the figure skating club. We've given up our Friday night ice time for their group to set up their yearly carnival for the past number of years. As well, the Movember Rec Hockey group we have supported by giving up our ice time and helping their group in any way that we can. Our dressing room of men are a group of people committed to this town. We've had RCMP members in the past, all the way to district employees and even mayor and council members. In our dressing room alone, we have all of our minor hockey coaches and all of our adult referees this year. We are here for the community and aren't going anywhere. In 30 years' time, our group will continue and prosper and still be committed to this town and the game that we love. So some information about our club. We currently have 14 old-timer members and 4 younger drop-in members. Our age limit for old-timers is 35 years old. With the recent mine openings, we've been able to add 2 new members to our group, which is fantastic. Our dressing room has a capacity of 20 members with pre-made stalls that our club has made. We take care of all the janitorial work and a majority of the maintenance work in our dressing room. We have made it very inviting to any of our members, with dividers in each stall and TV and cable as well. We are very self-sufficient. A large majority of our yearly revenue comes from our members' yearly dues, which are $500 per year. Therefore, when our room isn't full, our revenue decreases substantially. Another revenue source we have is our drop-in players that come to join us for a game shinny. With rec hockey folding their ice time a couple of years ago, most of those players have joined us to play a bi-weekly game and pay a fee, a drop-in fee. Our drop-in numbers are fairly strong at the beginning of the year, as a lot of the players prepare for the annual November Classic rec hockey tournament in November. Unfortunately, now after November, our drop-in numbers drop off substantially. That is why we can't rely on this revenue to be there all the time, because it doesn't happen. As well, in the future, I foresee rec hockey to break away from our ice time and get their own ice time again. Our club is still in rebuilding mode as far as our membership goes, as we are only at about 70% capacity. In the future, I do foresee our membership growing, as a lot of players will eventually become old enough to join our club. However, right now, with everyone's work schedule, it's very difficult to field a team to go to an out-of-town tournament. The way the old-timer family works in the region is teams are very willing to come to your tournament if your team participates in their tournament. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to attend some of the region's tournaments, and it is shown in our own tournament participation. Since I've been involved with this club, we were maintaining a modest bank account of around $5,000 7 years ago. At that time, we didn't have a year-end tournament. I took on the role of getting the tournament up and running again, because it is not only a revenue source for our club, but for the entire town as well. We aim to bring in 7 teams from out of town, which constitutes an average of at least 70 players, all staying in our hotels and eating at our restaurants. I could put together some revenue numbers for our town on this. However, my role with the team is voluntary, and I don't get paid enough to do that. But I'm sure all of you can understand the dollars that the hockey tournaments bring to our town. It is substantial, and it is another aspect of showcasing our town to the region. A number of our out-of-town players rave at the hospitality that we give, and it is a great event. Over the last 4 years, we have slowly been able to grow our bank account by about $2,000 per year, and with our lease reprieve last year, we have climbed over the $10,000 mark in our account. The reasoning for the growing bank account is we are looking forward to our club being able to support our team going to a tournament out of the country. Our club has done this in the past, going to places like Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Hawaii to play in their yearly international hockey tournament. It not only gives our group a bit of a vacation, but it is pretty surreal to show up to the rink in shorts and tank tops. These tournaments are an amazing experience. As well, our group haven't been able to afford team jackets for over a dozen years, and our jerseys need replacing as well, which is a major cost. There are a number of large team expenses we have had to put off because we can't afford it. So having a healthy bank account not only gives our group peace of mind that we can pay all of our expenses, it also gives us opportunity to grow and showcase in a way this group of members haven't been able to do. Our group is kind of in the background that the majority of our town population doesn't really know about. We'd like to change that and get more exposure in the community and give back more. So So that is a bit of a background about our club. We are here this evening to talk to you about our recent lease agreement proposal. The district has offered our club a new lease for 3 years at $2,000 a year, increasing by 2% each year. Our club feels this price isn't feasible for the nearest future. We would like to request some kind of a discount. To put in perspective, this is the amount that I am familiar with since my time with the club. This is the amount we've paid in the past. Our club likes the fact that the district would like to commit to a multi-year lease, as this is a hassle renegotiating and getting all the paperwork in order each year. However, we feel the current amount is too much given our current membership numbers. We as a group completely understand that it costs a lot of money to run the rec center, and it's the district's job to try and generate as much revenue as possible to try and recoup these costs. But we as a group would like to ask Mayor and Council to ask yourselves, who do you want to make that money from? Our club pays the highest ice time fee of $110 per hour, as compared to minor hockey, who pays half that. Our club has paid this lease every year for the last 30 years, except for last year, of course. That constitutes an excess of approximately $60,000 that our hockey club has paid for the right to claim our own dressing room. With that kind of money, we could have added an addition to build a completely separate room with separate accesses. Some other clubs in town have received their rooms and storage space to operate for a nominal fee, or none at all, for example, the Arts Council. I agree this is a very important club to have in town, as it offers another cultural aspect that some towns in the north don't get, and it offers a very nice balance to the day-to-day hustle of industry and work. However, I don't believe the Arts Council has been able to generate the amount of out-of-town money being spent in our businesses that one hockey tournament brings in one weekend. We feel the community center has almost become an essential service to the town of Tumbleridge. Everything is at the community center, and it has become a vital hub of our community, which it was designed to do. All of our taxpayers are extremely grateful to pay for the community center, and anyone that I talk to that visits is very impressed with our facility. Not everyone likes hockey or follows it, but there is a very large group of citizens that do follow and are involved in one way or another in our community. For a recent example, Canoe Cole had a charity game last Friday, and the amount of donation to the food bank and the amount of people watching in the stands was enough for the organizers to realize this game needs to be done on a yearly basis. There was likely close to 200 people in the stands. Back in the glory days of Tumble Ridge, not only hockey, but the arena itself hosted multiple old-timer teams and multiple rec hockey teams, as well as a junior hockey team. It was something to be proud of, and it brought the town together for some entertainment and fun watching games. The game of hockey still does that today with the relentless fans of our minor hockey teams have. Without the old-timer volunteers we have today, minor hockey would not be possible. In conclusion, our club would like to propose to Mayor and Council some kind of discount for our yearly lease of our dressing room. Our club feels we have paid enough money in leasing over the years to have the right to say we have bought in that space. In comparison to other groups and organizations in town that don't pay for their space or storage and don't give back to the community to the degree that our club does, we feel that more support from the district to our hockey team would be very welcomed and appreciated. Questions?
Thank you for the presentation. We all support having no time at all. Councilor Scoggin.
I actually just have one for you, Mr. Bertrand, and that would be, weren't you guys aware of the increase? Like, didn't you get talked to, or was there an email maybe sent to you on behalf of Min about this increase? Because this came up a couple weeks ago and I asked that question. And I was told you guys were aware of it and were okay with it.
It hasn't been, the lease amount hasn't increased from the past. Our previous lease before last year was $2,000 a year. I received an email, I'd have to go back to check when it was, but we received an email for the lease agreement proposing $2,000 for 3 years. And I didn't respond to it. I took it to our board to decide where to go with it, but we didn't agree to it at all. To answer your question.
Yeah. just to follow, the only reason I asked that is just, you know, just because we did make a vote here a couple weeks ago. First one going, right? Maybe we could have changed it. And it doesn't mean it can't be changed, but just curious if you guys were aware.
Yeah, I received an email in regards to that, but we didn't agree to it at that time.
Anybody else? Councillor Casey.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question, and I may have missed it. So what kind of a cost decrease are you looking for?
Well, when I presented it to our board, I asked them if they wanted to go before council to discuss it, and they said yes. And in my eyes, there was two options. There was an option to cut it in half to $1,000, or completely wash it, to basically grandfather us for that space. So a lease of $1 a year for the next 10 years. That would be ideal. That would allow our group to grow and also give back to the community in more ways, and also give more exposure to our group as well.
Okay.
Those are the two options that I presented our board, and they asked me to go for the home run. But if,
So the home run again, just to be clear, would be what? $1?
$1,
Just want to be clear.
I feel that, like, I don't know the history of this organization. I've only been involved for 7 years, and unfortunately, the guys, old timers back in the day, they're not, most of them aren't here anymore, so I couldn't really get any relevant information from them. But as far as I understand, on a year-to-year basis, this team continues. The briefcase gets passed on from treasurer to treasurer, and it's continued. So my estimate on how much we've spent on that room is probably fairly accurate. I don't have the facts on what the prior lease agreements were before I was involved, but definitely spent a lot of money on leasing that room. And as well, in the district eyes, there is no maintenance for that room at all. We take care of pretty much everything. So there isn't really any added cost of having us there, besides the fact that we're down one dresser, but it has become a problem in the past.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let Mr. Bertrand and council know you're going to be limited on the length of lease to 5 years. Council can't enter into a lease that's more than 5 years if you have capital requirements. In that room, we do have capital requirements. We've got pipes going in there. We've got the entry, everything like that. So you can do what you want on the price, but you will be limited to a maximum of a 5-year lease.
That's absolutely fantastic, really. I mean, the multi-year is much easier for administration as well as us. We don't really want to do this every year, that's for sure. So
Your numbers, you say, are down to, you got 70% of what you
capacity.
already. We don't make any decisions here, but we sure will have some discussions on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Please.
yeah. Okay, we go to correspondence, 6-1, is the finding international and
Move for information, Your Worship.
second of that, Councillor Trelka. All in favor? 6-2, Minister of Finance and Deputy Premier. confirmation.
Move the confirmation.
Seconder. Page, Kirby, all in favor? Okay, Tunbridge Day Society. Information.
That's it, move discussion.
Okay. Seconder. Councilor Kirby, go ahead.
Just curious where we are, and I know they came in as a delegation, I just wondering if the men's come back with any kind of, get out there.
Councilor Wall.
They got back in touch with me and asked what was needed, and I said we need a letter from you explicitly saying what you're asking for. I let them know the deadline to get it in on this agenda because they said this was something they want to deal with outside of the normal. Excuse me. They wanted to deal with it before the normal approval process, and I said it can happen. Council's going to have to waive policy to do it. If you want it on this agenda, and this is the last regular meeting of the year, you have to get it into me by this date. I've got nothing in at this point, so.
Thank you, Your Worship. Was there ask, what is on the first page of page 19?
Part of their ask is I'm still waiting for clarification on, and that may be the totality of it, I'm not sure. I'm waiting for clarity on, is that money they're asking for, that cash rather than in kind, the total what they're asking, or are they asking for that plus the money they get for the regular? So last year it was 35,000, I believe, plus the in kind. That's the issue that I'm not certain of. And like I said, I spoke with the TR Day Society and let them know, send me a letter with exactly what you want, and I'll bring it to council, and I haven't received anything yet.
To 6.4, Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture. I just wanted to make a comment here before we receive this information. Is that we've had I think 2 or 3 ministers now that have expressed want to come up and visit and see the Tunbridge is all about, and that's all come from the area. So now it does show the value of those meetings. Showed a lot of these guys didn't even know that we existed. They sure do now, and they were pretty impressed with what we showed about. Just wanted to state that. I don't know if there's any other discussion on it.
Thank you, Your Worship. They're also mentioning in here a convenient time for them to visit Tunbridge. Can't come up with a specific date at this time, thinking in terms of summertime, whatever, riverboat trip, whatever else that council would like to sort of make available to them, that kind of thing. But they did ask us for information with regards to what might be a good time. Maybe we could give them a time frame of summer months, whatever council prefer.
I believe when we were down there, we suggested, and we can continue to suggest that they come up here during the time of the Geopark revalidation. Then those revalidators would see the support from the provincial government.
Yeah.
Can we reaffirm that?
We'll be getting in touch with them. I mean, they'll come when they're ready to come, but we'll make our suggestions, yes.
Is there a date for that revalidation?
There is, I don't know it off the top of my head, but there's a time frame anyway.
Ready. Takes us to bylaws. 7.1, bylaw revision and consolidation bylaw number 661, 2017 is for adoption. Councilor Kirby.
Recommendation that the bylaw revision and consolidation bylaw number 661, 2017 be adopted.
Seconder for that. Councilor McIver. Discussion on it? Seeing none, all in favor? New business, 8.1, Tunbridge Visitor Center and Interpretive Trail Grant. Have a recommendation there? Councilor Paul.
Recommended council move the district financial contribution of $174,168 for the BC Rural Dividend Program grant for the Tunbridge Visitor Center Interpretive Trail to the 2018 budget discussions.
Seconder, Councilor Kukaka. Discussion on it? Councilor Kukaka?
Yeah, so just get some clarity here in regards where it says that we've talked to the Tumberland Secondary School. I'm curious if Mr. Hughes has been involved in those discussions. We're talking about around that pond again. I know he was in regards to talking about maybe looking at being able to stock it with trout. That eventually that's something they'd be able to do at the school in regards to instead of doing goldfish. I'm just wondering if that discussion's been had with Mr. D.
The fish stocking is not included in this project, no. Whether or not Mr. Beals had conversations with him, I can't say, but I can tell you that this project does not involve that.
Just on that as well, I thought we had this discussion back in, I believe it was in August, before Councilor Mackay had left for holidays. And we're gonna have a sit down around a P&P and have a regular heart to heart about what's gonna happen back there.
That
See,
was,
the report came forward.
yeah, that was a discussion amongst council where different councilors talked to each other about about the ability to change this, and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. The reality of it, we had to make a submission and there was no chance to come back to council, so I would agree that that conversation did take place, but it was a conversation amongst council, not with administration.
So this has to be a plan made here, and I imagine that'll come before us before it gets sworn.
I mean, this generally is the plan. If council wants to see things different, now's your opportunity to have that discussion. We will have the ability to alter this. We can go to the grant and say, well, we want to do this, we want to do that. If it's still in the general, making an interpretive trail, they're not going to have issues with it. But that's something that council needs to definitely figure out and give direction on.
Okay.
I know Mr. Dealey does have another project he's looking at, and that maybe him to bring forward. But there's no way that the trail would actually get in the way of anything to do with trout farm or goldfish farm, whatever. It's just the trail that goes around there. It makes an interpretive trail for the children at the school to put various signage about the animals, the plant life, the insect life, reptile life that's going to be in that area. So it's more of a project for them, as well as a cross-country ski trail that just kind of leads right from the doorstep. So it really doesn't affect the pond at all. It just skirts and goes around.
Just a question to Councilor Mackay. Is this something that the community forest came up with? Is this not the same concept trail you guys were talking about?
Well, it's kind of gotten a little bit bigger, actually, from what we originally envisioned. But the funding there now is to really put this into a plan. And I agree, look, I think a plan has to be done. But now we got enough cash here through the Rural Dividend Fund, and more, really, we could apply for this year to continue on with this project. So
Like
really,
the plan's already there. Like, and I'm just wondering, did the community forest have input in this plan? Because I remember you brought it forward. That's why I asked that.
yeah, but this is kind of the concept. Yeah.
Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Microcells, receive for information,
So moved, your worship.
seconder. Councilor Kirby, all in favor? Video recordings of council meetings, ER 48. Have a recommendation there? Councilor Kirby?
The council approves the District of Tumbler Ridge video recording of council meetings policy TR 48.
Seconder? Okay. Discussion? Rob?
Yeah, so I came in and talked to Mr. Wall about a couple of concerns I had, and he was able to go through them. It was pretty good. One I had was a concern that if we were getting into a sensitive topic, would there be any way to cut the fee? And Mr. Wall has confirmed that he would be able to cut the fee without the approval of council. He's been able to cut it and then explain to us why he thought it was subject to not needing to be broadcast, and if it was a personal issue or something, and then he would, after this topic has stopped, he would be able to come back and tell council why he was able to stop the recording. The other point that we had is talking about if council doesn't want a particular meeting recorded, for whatever reason that may be, do we have the ability to still do that? And Mr. Wall said we could put in there that through a vote of council, we could still do that. And have it so we didn't have to have a meeting recorded. A meeting, a good example of it was a few days ago. What was that, Joanne? A couple weeks ago, what was that? The meeting we had at the
Chamber.
round table.
The rural.
A rural land lot, so we had a discussion that was open to the public on rural land lots, and we didn't actually know where we were going with it, so it didn't really make sense to involve recorded meeting for the public, because we were throwing ideas around, and we didn't want it to go anywhere beyond what we were talking about there, and so we decided not to have that one publicly broadcasted. That ability is within this still, is that right, Mr. Wall? If at any time we decide that we don't want to have that meeting, there's no binding law that says we have to have this. This is something we brought in as a council to be more open and apparent anyways, correct?
Yeah, so within the policy, if you vote within an open meeting, so the vote has to happen in an open meeting, you can choose not to record it. So if you know beforehand you're gonna have a meeting where you don't wanna record it, when you set up that meeting, you can take the vote then. If you wait until the actual meeting, you're gonna have to open it up with the video and take that vote within the meeting.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Purchasing of crown land for rural residential lot development. Is there a recommendation there? Councilor Kirby?
The council continues to pursue scenario 2 and support private purchases of crown land with district boundaries.
Seconder. Councilor Scott, discussion? Councilor Allen?
Yeah, the last meeting we had on this, this was the scenario 2 was the one staff presented to us, but I think we've come up with more, what's the right way to put it? The council has looked at this in a different way, that we want to at least get a task 1 of the report started, which is a market analysis done. And going scenario 2 doesn't get the process going correctly. If I could, I'd like to put out an alternate recommendation after this one is voted on, but this is the scenario basically to let people do whatever they want with land, not have land available. We know how long the process takes, so if somebody were to come in, say HD Mine gets started, they want to get places going, we know to acquire land, it's a long process, so I think it's advisable that we get on it ahead of time, rather than wait till something's coming up and go. And each decision can be made as you go through the tasks. You can stop at task 2 and decide, no, we don't want to go any further with it. But, so I'll be voting against this recommendation and putting it on the floor.
Scott?
And my understanding was we needed that market analysis survey or whatever, which was a cost of about 30,000 before we could proceed to any of the other steps. So,
It's task 1, yeah.
That was my understanding too. And, I was surprised that it wasn't in this, but, yeah. Councilor Crowe?
Yeah, I was gonna speak opposed to it as well. I mean, I didn't attend that meeting, I apologize to council, I couldn't make it after the date was set, but yeah, I'm more trying to get the process moving to see where we sit.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like you said, we can always stop it at any point, and I did read the report, and the state said in there as well, we can stop at any process, but at least we're getting something meet up to find out if it's even got.
Yeah, and this is the,
I won't be supporting the motion.
supposed to be the first thing.
And so I asked Mr. Wall why, I asked Mr. Wall why this report wasn't changed, because it didn't reflect the flavor of council, and Mr. Wall, correct me if I'm wrong, informed me that it was tabled, so you wouldn't change it because it's tabled until we've discussed it tonight. Okay.
Thank you, Worship. Correct me if I'm wrong, we've had this conversation before under the same period. Did we not agree that what was required was a resident survey to establish the need
Yes.
for this type of development?
Yeah, that's exactly what Councilor House.
All right, so this doesn't prohibit, that particular task is going to take place before any final decisions are made, so on and so forth. Thank you.
Councilor Kai?
At the previous meeting, it was open to the public. How many people came to that? It wasn't.
Like Pollock? No.
Okay, I'll call a question on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? So you
Like to put forward another recommendation? The council directs administration to proceed with tasks 1 through 8 listed in the report, returning on decision points for council continued support. And that $30,000 is pre-approved for, in the 2018 budget to start and undertake task 1, a market analysis in the first 2 months of 2018. And that other expected costs are included as a special project in the 2018-2023 financial plan year 1. So what that speaks to is this is the actual process that was laid out for us that it seems we are all in agreement on, that we're gonna start from task 1, laid out the way that it was. And there's 2 points in there where we have to decide to spend a little bit more money, and staff will bring it back to us and let us know this is what they've come up with and we can continue on or not continue on at that point. And this recommendation, Mr. Wall helped me write this out so that it was correct for the budget stuff as well, the right years and that stuff.
okay, seconder for that? Any discussion on it? All in favor? Okay, 8.5, Visitor Information Center operation. Councilor Casey.
Thank you, Worship. I make a motion that council enters into a 3-year agreement with the Tumbleridge Global Geopark to manage Visitor Information Center.
Second for that? Aye. Discussion. Scott.
Is that the recommendation that is here?
There's 2.
What's the recommendation there?
Oh, okay. I myself am in favor of the Chamber of Commerce, running the Civic Center. So,
Any other discussion on it? Councilor Huff.
Yeah, I'd actually like the second proposal that came through to the Tumbleridge Chamber of Commerce, where they've actually been able to lower the amount that they're looking for to $116,000. So they're saving about $34,000. And to me, that likely comes from the experience of running the facility for a year. To me, I think without trying to sound too confrontational, I think we're overstaffed over there. And I think it's open for too long hours through the winter. Over the course of the last 6 weeks, I've been going over and checking in at the visitor center and taking note of the visitors that are coming. And for 1 2 week, I think it's 3 week in particular, between October 27th and November 14th or something like that, we had 3 visitors to the visitor center in that time. That's 1 person per week. So that to me is them doing their due diligence and looking at it and saying, no, we don't need to be open for the amount of hours that we are, and it needs to be looked at otherwise. This is where we get the majority of our numbers for saying that we've had so many visitors to Tumbler Ridge. And I don't think it needs to be open as long as it is in the winter. To me, there's never anybody over there in the winter time, and we need to find areas to save a few dollars, and I think this is an excellent opportunity that the Chamber of Commerce has put forward to save a few dollars. I would prefer the Geopark focuses on the Geopark and not running the visitor center. That's my take on it. I like the cost savings of it.
Councilor Douglas.
Thank you. Councilor hit on some, like I said, I read the same thing, it actually talks about if this is reducing hours of operation for low season and stuff like that. Chair and manager working less days during the low season and more days during the high season. I won't be supporting the Geopark motion to take
Councilor Kirby.
Thank you, Worship. I thought both the proposals were good. I'm looking at this as, I'm looking back on how tourism has evolved in quite a few years in Tumbler Ridge. It's always been, the district has always supported tourism, starting with, the Museum Foundation, the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society, and with that support, those 2 groups were able to create the Tumblr Ridge Global Geopark Society. And since then, we have just been moving forward and forward with tourism. Now having the designation is important, and I think this community has put a lot into tourism, and it's paying off, it's showing that we're on the right path. I feel the right path in tourism is going with the Global Geopark. It supports all the groups that have put in hundreds of volunteers hours to get us to that point, and I think they're the ones to take us into the future of tourism. And that's where my vote will go. I think we're heading in the right direction. This group has got a good flow going. They're bringing new things. They're looking ahead. They're current. The courses and what they're offering is going to be beneficial. There's already job creation through that group, and I'm confident that managing it. If there are hours where it doesn't need, a good manager is going to reflect those kind of downturns. If we don't need that open for that time, they'll do that. And I think moving forward, it's been in our strategic plan to support tourism and grow tourism. And because of the way they've been doing this, in our last term, we're going to be able to back off a little bit because they've got it under control. I think they've done a fantastic job in promoting Tumblr Ridge along with our own district in marketing. And I think when it comes to tourism, that's the group to take us forward. The Chamber, yes, they did a great job. Chamber is business. We have a tourism group. So my vote will be going with the
Casey?
Thank you, Worship. There's any doubt in my mind with regards to voting in favor of the motion for the Tumblr Ridge Geopark. Again, we've talked about this over the course of a number of meetings and so forth. A tourist oriented is absolutely done and accomplished an absolutely superlative job as far as I'm concerned relative to not only getting the designation and so forth, setting up their operation and so forth. And I think that anybody who's ever spent any time talking to their representatives or their executive and so forth, I mean, the ideas and the plans that they have for the overall geopark, I think, is going to hold us in pretty good stead. And again, one's tourist oriented, the other is business oriented. I certainly understand and believe that there's overlap to some degree in that, but as far as the job that they've done, I think they truly deserve a vote in favor of the request. So I'll be voting in favor of the motion.
I don't doubt that the Geopark will promote tourism and would not do a fantastic job running the big center, and I think they would as well. But for my vote with the Geopark is, I thought the Geopark was supposed to bring jobs. I thought that was the point of the Geopark, was to help our economy. And we continue to bring tourists in and get tourism growth, but where are the jobs coming with it? That's what I've been looking for. And I think that's where the Chamber of Commerce has a better job or a better handle on getting businesses set up, helping businesses succeed. And that's a great spot for them to work out for the time being until we can get some of these businesses set up that were supposed to come with the Geopark. And maybe that's a 5-year plan. I don't know how long it takes to get it, but when they came in to sell the Geopark to us 3 years ago, that's where I got on board and I thought it was a great thing, is that it's going to get new jobs in Tumblr Ridge and it's going to help diversify our economy away from just being a coal mining and windmill town. And I think the Geopark, the Chamber is headed in the correct way to try to foster that. And I don't see it in the Geopark yet. Maybe it's because I haven't had enough dealings with them, but to me, I'd like the Geopark to create jobs.
Councillor Casey?
I'll wait for my next comment, thank you.
Councillor Scott?
I was going to say, I want to see all of the organizations thriving. And to me, if we put everything all in one direction, we're weakening another. Right now, I think we've got an upward momentum with the Chamber and the Geopark, and I don't want to fracture that. I want them to both be successful. And if we put too much on one organization, I'm afraid the other will fail. And the Chamber in the past has started up several times, and right now, I think they're holding their own. And I'm afraid if we take the big center away from them, that we'll be eliminating it. The tourism and if everybody is working together, it's going to be successful regardless of who is running it. And the Geopark is. I don't want to burden them either when their focus should be going out and promoting the town by putting something else on it. So I would be in favor of the chamber continuing, and them coming in with a cost reduction was fabulous.
Councilor McKay?
I think the original concept of the Vic Center was pretty sound then, and just as sound today. And that is that at that time it was kind of talked about with Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society being the I guess the ultimate landlord, with the chamber being given free rent, which I hope still continues. So it really doesn't affect any business dealings from the chamber. As far as having a good solid place to work out of it, that's still an option. Another thing here, like the geopark is not a given. I mean, it comes up for reevaluation, and the district of Tumble Ridge could not stand behind the organization any more than by doing something like this and inviting a bunch of ministers to come to the ceremonies that are going to be taking place this summer. That shows that this town and the province is solidly behind the geopark, which goes a long way to establish more credibility than they already have.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's an unfair task to put on any group to be able to attract or start business, and create jobs. I mean, they can market, they can help make that environment look, you make it look attractive, that I want to come and start a job. And I think they've done that. They've, and same with the chamber. They support business, but you can't ask the chamber manager to create jobs. That's just unfair. This is our job is to support the groups and to build on that. So I don't get where Councillor Howell's saying that they should be creating jobs. We can't grow our population, so we're, it's. I think that's too hard of a task. I think the reason I am voting towards the geopark is that this community, look at the money we've already invested in tourism, and it's the hard work, and all that money it's been progressing, and we're moving forward. It's a great thing to say, and it complements all the groups involved. So you got your Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society, you got the Tumble Ridge Museum Foundation, you got the Dinosaur Discovery Gallery, you also have the regional district who's supporting these, and now it's working. So we are continuing support in the tourism direction that we've kind of set out as one of our top priorities, our strategic plan. That means nothing to say that we're not still going to support the chamber. If they do not get the vote to run the Vic Center, then the chamber will come to us with another proposal. It's not, you just gotta, they're two different organizations. So that's.
Councilor Casey, did you have your hand up again?
Yes, just to follow up on that, we talked about being a tourism community. This is the place to come. And at the moment, this is not a place to come for jobs and work to rest, but as Curacao is a place to come and enjoy the landscape, enjoy all of the other tourist-related activities that we've got. And again, in terms of, it's not a slight about the Chamber of Commerce or against them or whatever, because as I talked about earlier, there's a co-relationship before one can play off the other. But if we are going to and are able, which the results, the last graph that was shown of where the tourists that are coming into town that have increased dramatically and so forth, as I can see, it's going to be a matter of time before there's going to be entrepreneurs who are going to be looking at, listen, we have X number of tourists coming into town. We don't yet have this facility. We don't yet have that facility. So in terms of the numbers that are going to be attracted to Tumble Ridge, in my opinion, that's going to encourage businesses to open up and take advantage of that. And there isn't any doubt in my mind either. We've talked about that previously, that geopark is the organization to handle that, and they've worked towards that and have done an absolutely magnificent job of getting the designation here. And I think we should do and provide any degree of support, any amount of support that we can, to have them complete their plans and so forth. I think it's money in the bank. I really do. And you can't find, being a bit of a homer, but I've lived in Dawson Creek, lived in Fort St. John, lived in Poughkeepsie, lived in all of the areas down here in South Peace. You can't match Tumble Ridge in terms of scenery, the activities, for people coming out to take advantage. There isn't another community around that can do that. and offer those facilities. I think we'd be making a major mistake if we didn't provide this support. Thank you.
I know myself, I've been to a lot of, out of town a lot and talked to a lot of people. And just recently, we had a tour operator show up from Asia that wants to bring people up here. And that's through the geopark. And your statement there, Councillor Howell, yeah, I think it is a 5-year project. And there is new business in town to do with the geopark. But there's a lot more that could come, and a lot more that I've talked to that. I'm watching the numbers, and I think it's going to happen. And I have real faith that it will. And I support the geopark. I'm hoping the chamber can spend more time on business-related issues without having to worry about terrorism. That's my hope. I will be supporting the geopark. Anything else? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? Opposed?
That motion is carried, isn't it?
Yeah, carried it.
Thank you.
Uh, 8.6, Council Corporation, report.
Yeah, so I was actually gonna look at trying to break these apart and to probably that actually, but I didn't talk to Mr. Wall about it. As I'm reading through it, I think we'll just confuse all the discussion. So I'm gonna step out for both parts just because I'm from West Rock. But I was gonna try to set room, but it's pretty entangled there, so. I did talk to Mr. Wall, and it's gonna help us.
I need to spend.
Okay. No?
I just gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh. We'll take a couple minute break here. We'll get going here again. 8.6, 2017 Golf Course Operations Final Report. And we have a recommendation. Kirby.
The recommendation is presented.
Okay. Secondary, Councilor McKay. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? You, Okay, 8.7, dock user group bookings, annual leases for minor hockey and figure skating.
While I don't disagree with that this would be a good thing for both minor hockey and figure skating club after discussing with Mr. Wall, neither group has been contacted about this at this time. So I think this is something we should likely defer until we've actually had staff have a conversation with the boards of both minor hockey and figure skating club to make sure that they are on board and understand what we're talking about, so they're not blindsided with this, and just so that they can kind of have the idea around it. And it's a lot easier for me to make a decision if both of those groups are on board with it as well. So I'd like to see us defer this.
You make a motion to kind of table this?
Yes, table, sorry. It's the
Second for that? Councilor Chuck. Discussion on that? Councilor McKay.
Just in light of the conversation we had earlier on with the Old Timers League, I wonder if that's something that could maybe even be included in this, or should that be handled separate? Either way, but it kind of takes care of everything at one time.
I think that's kind of a separate issue, is it not, Mr. Wall?
It can be part of the same issue if council wants. You can note in the alternatives to the recommendation that it does say that we can include the old timers in there. This was geared towards youth. If council wants to bring that into the timers, it can as well.
I really like this idea that I'd like to see people using it, and it doesn't matter what people, as long as it's getting used, rather than sitting empty. And, like you're saying here, that it's no cost, whether it's being used or not, or very little cost anyway. So, we've got a motion on the floor to table this until after,
Defer it. Sorry, your worship. Tabling means we're gonna bring it back in this meeting. Deferring means it will become out of a different meeting.
No, they both mean the same thing. Okay, you table it to the next meeting. You can table it till later in the
That
meeting.
was not my understanding. Before it was tabled, it came back at the end of the meeting. I believe that's what it says.
Either way, I'd like it tabled so that both the users group get an opportunity to understand what we're talking about first before we vote on something that affects them.
Casey?
Thank you, Worship. I certainly have no problems with that. Would it be feasible to maybe invite them to a P&P? Further see with that.
This would be something I would go and talk to them back to council.
Fair enough.
One of the reason we've got it on here was to try and get this done before the Christmas break. The Christmas break, our ice rink sits empty for most of the time, so I can try and talk to them soon, and council has a meeting on the 11th if you'd like me to bring it back then.
Yeah, that'd be good, because I think the Christmas break would be. Okay, so all in favor of tabling it? Okay, 8.8, wedding at Underage Country Club. We have a recommendation.
Recommendation that council receive the report am I using the right one? And that admin notifies the delegates that the district of Tumble Ridge has denied their request to have weddings on the fairway of the Tumble Ridge Golf and Country Club.
Seconder for that? Discussion? Rob?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to try and jump in there. Just because it has nothing to do with the restaurant, I won't be excusing myself. There's not a conflict with it. Just want to make sure it's awareness.
Yep. Please go ahead, Councilor.
So I'm gonna be voting against that recommendation, and I'm gonna be putting the alternate recommendation forward, because I think that better reflects the conversation that council had first time that we had the two folks come in and talk to us about it. And basically, the alternate recommendation says that, we will allow for weddings that happen on the golf course for a fee, and that the damage deposit taken on. I think this is a great way to bring people into our community so that they don't go somewhere else. And I don't think if it was handled correctly and we had just a short period of time, you're allowed 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it may be that they need to set up the wedding on hole 1. I don't think that you're going to lose that many golfers to it, and I actually don't think that many golfers would be that concerned about putting their ball halfway down the fairway and starting halfway down number 1 or coming back and finishing on number 1 once the ceremony is over. To me, I think it's a great thing down at the golf course, and it could be actually something that you might end up building from. You might end up saying, this is an area where they want to have weddings quite often, and maybe you do an area that's out behind the campsites that is a beautiful overlook over there as well that could be utilized as well. So I'll be voting against this and then putting forward the alternate recommendation.
Kirby, did you have your hand?
Yeah, thank you, worship. I think, not voting for this, if we're not if someone else is running the golf course, cause that's gonna go to bid, that's gonna affect how they're doing business, and I think that they should have a say, no matter what. We might be, if the district is gonna run the pro shop and the course, but still there's people running the upstairs. I think it should be a joint decision on whoever's going to be taking that on, and I can't see this, I can't see this working that way.
Which recommendation the one that the staff is putting?
The one that, yeah, I'm still trying to find one, yeah, I'm just not I'm for this one, for the first one, the one the staff has put on.
Councilor Cook.
I just had to get clarification from my partner here, Councilor Barnes. Just want again, I'm on the outside in before I made a comment. I wasn't sure you guys were in the previous. My thing is like that too. I'm actually not in favor of not allowing them down there. I'm not even talking about a fee. I mean, we talk about tourism in Tumbler Ridge and it's growing and everything else. When you have a wedding, and I did talk to the delegates afterwards. They did meet up with me and talk to me because I didn't excuse myself. And I explain why. We were talking 250 people in Tumbler Ridge coming up for an e-wedding. 200 of those or 175 of those are from out of town. They're gonna take pictures of the ceremony and they go back and they share that with their friends and their other families. And they see those pictures and say, where's that? Let's come do it. That's free advertising. Don't disagree with a damage deposit, but I don't know, like, rent the chairs or whatever. I don't know if there should be a cost to be down there. And yes, right now it's like Mr. Wallner's report said it's 2 people. I mean, all of a sudden you open it up and get up 20 people. But I have actually went around and talked to some golfers. I'm not one of the big golfers, but there were some comments about a barricade being put up. They go down 9 and they start on 2 and they miss 1 hole. And like the one gentleman said, he has a membership, so it doesn't bother him to only golf 8 holes today. I pay a daily fee, so I pay the $25 for tournament. So to me, you change that rate for that one day for 4 hours. Instead of $25, I get it for 20 or whatever. That's not my. I think we should be allowed. I really believe we're looking for tourism. We're looking for that. That's free advertising. I mean, the money we spend on billboards and everything else is in the piece. This is free. This goes all the way. Me, Vancouver Island, Vancouver, Kelowna, wherever these people are from. Period. To me, it's free advertising.
Councilor Kirby.
Yeah, I'm looking at this at the business side. If I'm the person that's running the golf course restaurant and I have to stop my business and lose, or tournaments or whatever you're promoting has to be stopped for weddings coming on, then it better be we have to have a good policy in place for that then, because it's a short season to make money down there. And, we could implement something that might cause someone's loss of business, loss of revenue.
I certainly understand where you're coming from there as well, but that policy can be written to that effect as well, that says no, again, no outside alcohol is allowed down at an event like this. And you could have that meeting with the people that own it. To me, if I'm the business owner and you're gonna put 175 people down in my parking lot, fantastic. If I get to sell a couple of beers or a couple of sandwiches to a few of them, that's a good move for my business. I don't think that you're even gonna stop the golf course, so I think you're gonna have more flow at that time than you would. But it could be written into the policy to ensure that it's done correctly, so that they don't feel like they're jaded. I agree, but that policy can still be written. It can be done.
Councilor McKay.
Yeah, the last conversation on this, I mean, I think I brought forward that I just come from a wedding that took place on a golf course, and it was actually pretty good. But the one thing I hadn't thought of, and Councilor Kirby brought it up, but that was not a district-owned facility. It was a private golf course. So, but if you did have whoever is holding the lease for that place at that time, if there is, I mean, if we're gonna, that's the way we're headed. Maybe that's a decision that they could make, because there's an opportunity to make a whole lot of money with the reception that takes place shortly after. So there's a really good opportunity for business to actually to benefit greatly by doing that. As long as a damage deposit is there, then I would prefer just to leave that up to whoever's looking after it at that time.
I was going to say too, I think there's a flip side to negatives. The proponents or whoever is running it can be making additional money having all of those guests. They'll probably be staying to have them on the golf course, it would encourage people to make this a destiny place.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Councillor Howe proposed that ultimate recommendation, so I could vote for that. So I'll call a question on the first motion. All in favor? All opposed?
Yep, that council directs administration to prepare policy for the hosting of weddings outdoors on the fairway at the Tumbler Ridge Golf and Country Club, and to include in the fees and charges bylaw, identified, sorry.
So the first motion will have the fees as identified in the report. The second motion will have the opportunity for council to change those fees when it comes back.
Right. So, the council directs administration to prepare policy for hosting of weddings outdoors on the fairway at the Tumbler Ridge Golf and Country Club, and to include in the fees and charges bylaw as amended by council and referenced in the meeting.
Second for that? Councillor Scott? Any more discussion on it? Councillor Kaka?
So I was gonna, just a small comment there, in regards, somebody mentioned about tournaments, so obviously, whatever's booked first, whether it's the tournament or the wedding, you're not gonna shut down a tournament. That's something, to me, you wouldn't anyways. I mean, again, and my thing is, again, yes, I'll support it, but my thing is, to me, I like more the idea that there's a no charge to have your wedding done. Charge for the tables, charge for your, or the chairs and the setup and takedown of that, but to me, I don't understand why we'd wanna charge for that, it's free advertising. We pay to put signs up. This is 200 people or whatever, 350 people come and take pictures. Our area is all to share with people they know. It's the best way to advertise.
I still think there should be some sort of a fee.
Any other comments? Oh,
What's the motion that's on the floor? Can you just maybe repeat that back?
Sure, it's on page 169, Mike, it's the second one. Sorry, Mr. Paisley.
So the motion is moved would direct administration to develop this policy to allow for weddings, and it would seek council's input on what the fee structure will be. So yes to weddings, and then the price would be set by council at the next time this comes up.
All in favor? Okay, 8.9, trail and sidewalk upgrades. Recommendation there.
That council moves the upgrades and asphalt replacement for the Bear Walk Pass through the community, asphalt path along Muffin Way, and then installation of sidewalk along South Gate from Isles Way to Pioneer Loop to 2018 budget discussions.
Discussion?
I have no problem with moving all of this to budget discussions, but I'd like them broke out individually. I don't want them all lumped together as one, so that we can decide on each one going through. That's a lot of money. That's almost $1 million that are to replace Bear Walks. And I was under the impression that our asphalt had to be replaced because of the wear and tear of heavy equipment, vehicles and stuff on it for 30 years, and don't quite get why all of the Bear Walks are worn into this amount. So, and part of it maybe I didn't understand is that part of the fence is going to be replaced on either side of the Bear Walk as well, and new gates and stuff for this price. Because we're talking about widening them now to 3-meter roadways, and now a vehicle can drive through them if they're 3 meters wide quite easily. Years ago, they were designed with holes in them so the fire department could pull the poles out and they could pass through it if they had to with fire. That's the way I understood they were for emergency vehicles as well. So I don't know if that is being taken into consideration as well.
You wanna make an amendment?
No, I'm just saying that for the discussion, I'm just gonna be voting against it, because I'd like to see them broke out individually.
Councillor Kaka?
I understand, I came in and talked to Mr. Wall today, and if it wants to be broken out, then we vote on them separately here.
You can.
So that was my understanding.
They can all be added to the discussion.
But then, sorry, at that budget meeting, if they're lumped in, we can ask for them to grow. But I agree with you. We're talking $870,000 in asphalt And when we started talking in regards to asphalt this year, some of the downtown stuff, whether it be the town hall and the fire department, we're all worried about that, everything taken as an action. Have we done assessments on all these trails and they have to be replaced?
No, there's trails at different states. I mean, most of the trails need to be replaced. It's at the point where if we're doing this much work, it makes sense to just do them all. Leave some of them and get them, excuse me, to leave some of them, get them coming back might not make the most sense, but we can do that. This was based on council wanting to see all the paths replaced, and that's what we've got here. So,
Councilor McKay?
So we'll get the pricing, if this was to pass, then we'd receive the pricing for each of those jobs. Does that necessarily mean that we have to, at budget time, do all three?
so I'm confused as to what you mean by breakout. Do you mean breakout the three?
Oh,
different
okay, I'm
dates?
sorry, I didn't have, I just got back.
Or do you mean
Chances.
break out all the different trails? So you just mean break out those three things? Okay, yeah.
Councilor Strauss?
I did a, I don't know if, the question was answered, but I was curious about the fencing as well. Is it just the asphalt we're talking about? Or is it fence, like some of them are gated or whatever, there's the fence?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check and get back to council.
Because some of those are in disarray.
Yeah.
They're, they're potentially
And I think this actually might have been taken out of context here. You just said that we haven't done an assessment on that asphalt. And I remember in conversation that we had here that I was upset that we were going to continue to build new paths and put more asphalt into new areas before we had looked at replacing existing asphalt. That's why I was voting against the asphalt that went down Monkman Way. Because I thought, fix what you got first, don't add any new stuff. And I think it may have been construed to say we need to replace all the bare walks. Where I'm not saying replace all the bare walks. I'm saying that before you go and put any new infrastructure into the town, any more new walking paths, we should fix what we have. And if we haven't done an assessment on it, I don't think we should be even discussing it. We shouldn't be throwing out that type of money. We should do a proper assessment on them. Even if that's Mr. Beal's crew, doing their observations on it rather than bringing in a third party for it, I'd be fine with that. But I'm concerned that it went off on the wrong track here. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but.
I would like to think that we wouldn't be paving if it wasn't assessed and needed, just like this. I have my concerns too with this is set up. So I'll call the question on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Get there.
Carried, I believe. Yeah.
But
And
it's
this-
still budget discussion.
This is just moving budget discussions. So,
Just to follow up there, and I'm sorry for the confusion there, but my question was, like, if this goes to budget, like it is now, we still have the opportunity to reassess that, and okay, that's what I was.
Yeah, just go into discussion.
Right, okay.
Okay. 810, resolution of vote for an office for the bylaw officer, and the recommendation there. Councilor Kirby?
The council appoints Enzo Cala as the bylaw officer for the district of Tumble Ridge.
Seconder, Councilor Kaka. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Welcome. So 810, resolution of 811. Home designs for the new, do you wanna get hold of,
He was just on the phone, I think. Grab my phone call or something. Sure, he's right there.
we'll continue. Approve designs for new welcome to Tumber Ridge entrance signs. And I have a recommendation. I guess I don't have a recommendation there. Hello, what are you looking for here, Mr. Wall?
What do you guys like? This one, that one, none of them got time, so.
Well, I'm gonna shoot again for like option 3. It looks like I did when I was in wood. Same concept, just it looks great. I mean, I know there was talk about even looking at different options for each entrance. Fine with that, but I definitely like option 3.
I had a comment. I do like the metal instead of the wood, and it looked like it came in at a lesser expense than the wood, so that was a plus. And I do like having, like, I like the snowmobile shark fin, like I think we do the references having something different. Kind of keeps the attention of all of the things that you need.
I like, I was sold on number 3, but, you know, when it was mentioned that we could put a different one in each entrance, I thought that was a great idea. And I do like it with sledding and all that in there. And, I like the metal, I didn't think I would. But. So,
Thank you, Worship. I still like the wood. I can't help it. I'm partial to that, and I would vote. I would be voting in favor of having a new sign on each entrance into town. And you know, I could see a place with one with all the metal on, you know, maybe on the Chetwynd side. But I like the I would take a wood sign too. I like the looks of it myself.
Yeah, not to get into arguments, I disagree. I think, you know, if you're gonna do the one, you're gonna go metal on all of them. I mean, I don't have no issues with going with option 2 on 2 entrance signs and option 3 on 1. Option 3, you know, maybe coming in from the Dawson Creek side, since to me that's where, I mean, I think most of our traffic's coming that way, and I could be totally wrong, but, and again, I like the shark spin, I like the sled. I also like the idea of ice climbing. On page 185, I think that's, you know, that's quite something that's new to somewhere. I mean, obviously through the geopark and through a private business, but I think, you know, that's something that's big too. And I think it actually sticks out really nice. Yeah, I like all the new lights too. There's page. That one's kind of nice too. The option 2 of number 3.
So I have my numbered preferences. I would do the Northern Lights for the main entrance coming from Dawson. And then the smaller one, like coming from the Alberta way, because that's the direction most of the sledders come in at. Have that one coming from the unpaved portion. And same, like the same here concept, but the shark fin from the Chetwynd way. Those are
What
my
about
picks.
down on the Chetwynd Highway?
We could stick to Ransford signs right there.
Yeah, just with Councillor Scott, I think if you're gonna put the shark fin on a sign, it should be the one coming in from Dawson, because that's where you see it
Yeah,
predominantly.
that's true.
You know.
But you already see it.
But, yeah. What did council think about the taglines? You know, no taglines, heart of the geopark, BC's last instant town.
Yeah, I
You
know.
know,
I'm
those
sure
are
they have.
different things to look at.
And I like it without.
Personally, I like it without 2. I like Welcome to Tumbler Ridge.
We could put that to the tourism committee as well and get their thoughts.
Get their
on it.
feel on it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I, after our last talk about this, I drove around and looked where, you'd mentioned it, putting it in that co-op there, somebody did.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And that's what you need something like that to put some stock to keep pictures of it. And I was looking at this way, there's works out that way too. So, Yeah.
That one there, you could put right where it has a sports place sign or whatever, and then they can pull in the parking lot in the picture, right? Instead of putting it back, right, if you still decide the highway, you can still pull it in there.
Mhm.
Like
That
coming
should be a
in, awesome.
parking area.
So that type of thing was put on back to council.
Yeah, well, I think it'll probably be best to have maybe a counselor or two come in and talk to me, and let's put your ideas down in a motion, and we'll bring them back to council and go from there.
Councilor.
And there will be a TAC meeting coming up here, I think December something quick, Thursday. So I think this will be a discussion, I can bring an update from the groups, see what their thoughts are too, but is there possibilities for those pictures in the middle to be interchangeable, so that you can, with the season, like our flags, that if it's snowmobile season, you can put the snowmobile in and, you know,
I thought the same thing, but I was.
you didn't wanna say it? I mean, yeah, I mean, it could be,
If it's a vinyl print,
Yeah.
you can take them on, you can take them off. We'll have to find out what's involved in that, but we'll ask.
they're very nice.
Okay. There,
That's all we need.
12, ADCD delegation, investment readiness and economic development plan, 2018-2020. Recommendation? Councilor Scott.
The council agreed at date and time January 2018 for a special council meeting to hear the final and investment readiness and economic development plan 2018 to 2020 presentation of the EDCD consultants. And that council permit this delegation to present for up to 1 hour with an opportunity for council to ask questions or request clarification on aspects of the report, and that council identify a date on the week of January 2018 when consultants are available to attend.
Councilor Kukaka. Second it. Discussion on it? Councilor Kukaka.
So I guess through to Mr. Waller, maybe it up to us, but would that not be something we could just put on our January 8th meeting?
You can, they're asking for an hour to sit down and talk about this. This will become the backbone of the economic development strategy. If you want to add that to your council meeting, you're more than welcome to.
The reason I asked that, like maybe it's, I'm not sure where our schedule works like on that, but maybe we start at 4 o'clock, you've got us, or they should say, because they have the hour and then we're here at 5 with community meeting, so it doesn't. I'm not sure if that works for us to council, but that's not another day we're coming down.
Works for me.
That
Works
would
for me.
work for me as well.
One more.
Okay.
Just amend the motion that council agrees on January 8th, 2018 at 4 p.m. for a special meeting, and we're good to go.
Yep.
Any other discussion on it?
So,
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that takes us to the schedule of meetings. Any changes? Additions? Seeing none? Readers none. Motion?
Under that notice of motion, we're bringing, notice of motion will be on next week's, or next meetings. It'll be in regard to separating the PAP back to the extra meeting, no more discussion. So it'll be next agenda.
And is this where we can request, or should we just see you about things we want added on for the next meeting, the notice motion, or right now? I wanted to bring one back to council on the golf course. We had that old report
Yep.
for the last 2017 budget. I'd like to bring that back for consideration in the 2018, where we're looking at the encroachments, the crown rounded for tenure, all of that stuff. I think Mr. Wall's aware of what went on.
Mhm.
I was trying to find it, but so we need those things in place prior to being able to sell it. so.
And I'm sorry I didn't get back to you about
No,
that. but,
that's okay.
but
Okay, perfect. And then the other one would be the Murray River watershed cumulative effect, and they are asking for another 10,000. So if we could add that, and I've got this big huge report.
You could bring that back so that it'll come back for budget talk?
Yes, yes, so we'll be requesting that $10,000 be committed to that group. Okay, and that's it.
Ready? You got all that?
I do. And this is a great way to do it in the notice of motion, because now everybody's aware of it. If they had questions of you, they can talk to you. This is really best practice. So thank you, Councillor Kirkhope and Councillor Scott.
Councilor's business. Does anybody have anything to share? Councilman Kai.
Not much, but I do want to welcome Mr. Cullen to Tumber Ridge, and congratulations on the new position here. Look forward to working with you, hopefully on this side of it. Welcome to Tumber Ridge.
You don't have to worry about my garbage can lids because we got the new garbage cans. Anything else?
Oh, I was just going to make a comment on the logos on the ice. I had a bunch of little guys that play hockey asking, how come the TR Raptors logo isn't on center ice? Because, anyway, I said I will bring it to council. Anyway, they're seeing the Canoe McColl and all of the paid advertising. When they go out, whatever the logo is, you know, the sporting teams, and I think all of us have TR Raptors, like all of the little guys. So they're asking how come that isn't reflected in the center. Just something for next year.
Okay. Anything else? I had a few things. Christmas party. Congratulations to the organizers. It was a great event. I had a really good time. When we were down in the Clean Energy Conference, myself and Mr. Wall, we talked to Pattern, Borlex, Brookfield, and they're all still working at trying to do more up here. So, the one thing that did come from that meeting is that there is a call for energy, and it doesn't really matter. They don't seem to care that much what happens with St. C. They just want to get it done one way or the other. We ran into West Moe at the airport in Fort St. John, and they let us know that they were going to have conversations with HD and sign an agreement. And I think that happened. And also when Mr. Wall was at, went to see HD, but the province and feds have agreed on a caribou recovery plan. The plan has been put out for a 30-day public comment period, and is what's holding up the federal approval. HD will be considered by the federal cabinet either on December 15th or in February. We have also told HD that we're available to help them out if needed. So, but it looks like it's going forward, so that's good. Regional District, they've shut down their North Beach Economic Development Commission and the South Beach Economic Development Commission. So if council sees issues that expenses we have that should be maybe partly to do with the regional district, bring it to meetings or bring it to myself. And so what they're asking is for a list of things that they should be money towards and stuff like coal form, that type of thing. So I was going to ask Mr. Wall and the Economic Development Department to look into what they feel that should be on this list, and also let me know if you think of something. And we had the Geopark presentation there on the last meeting, and excited a lot of people. It was very well done. Thank you very much for that. Okay, we have to go back to a closed meeting. So, resolution, no question and answer period. Sarah?
Yeah, just with respect to the correspondence from Minister Bear. And I just wanted to share with council that I've actually, just this last week, had a meeting with senior staff at tourism, I can't remember the name of the ministries, tourism ministry. That's Bruce White and Tamara Datchin from Flynn Roar. And Bruce mentioned that the Geopark is coming up in a number of discussions in Victoria. It's a positive thing. What they're looking for is something like a ribbon cutting ceremony or that kind of thing. And just to let you know that the revalidation, so let me just start by saying I absolutely support everyone really thinking about that and getting behind the Geopark. Revalidation, I don't know if I'd have time at the Geopark to really give that platinum tour to the minister, and that might be something that the district would like to take on, but maybe unveiling the new signs might be something, like give them a ribbon to cut is what they suggested. So I'd be, absolutely your opinions are really important and your support is important, but that's just my little bit of feedback. But it's good to know that their staff are mentioning how often the Geopark comes up, so that's exciting. And then I'm sorry that Councillor Howe left, but with respect to creating jobs, we actually have started, we've hired an Association of Canadian Mountain Guides designated hiking guide to lead new trips so that we can offer more things. And we, there are different jobs that come in slowly, right? It's, as you said, like a 5-year plan, but you start with one event and then you build to 5 events and 20. And we've seen the Tourism Action Committee, the manager of the Trend said that they had a really busy summer, and the EDO said, was it wind turbine people? Was it forestry? What was it? And she said it was hikers that really was making the big difference, and that they would come for one day and stay for 3 or 4. So that's housekeeping jobs and jobs like that. So it's in the overall marketing that it comes. And then just the third comment was for Councillor Krakalka, and I think you're right with those images and marketing. So Alex Kuo is from Lotus Travel and creating travel packages for Taiwanese visitors to come and visit Tumbler Ridge, and he's making a website just for Taiwan, for Tumbler Ridge and the Geopark, and the main image he wanted to put on the banner is my wedding image from Windfall Lake, which I thought was hilarious. But for him, it's like this pristine wilderness romance story. That's how he told me, and so I think that pristine wilderness romance story speaks to more than just the Taiwanese, and so I just share that. Anyway, thank you, and thank you all for the support.
I had to laugh when he was talking about the backwoods, and he said, I think of the backwoods as way back, and he said, no, they think of it as when they get to Tumbler Ridge, they're in the backwoods.
That's like our backyard.
Yeah.
Literally the backyard, not what we call our backyard.
Exactly. Okay, I guess now we can go to close. Motion? Okay. Take 5 minutes.
One second. You're done, yep.
We're just going to take it to budget next year for anything sign.
Signs? Oh, yeah. Take the time, bring it.